You know, when you're like drowning in all this health advice, and it's always about what you should be doing.
Totally.
So today, we're flipping the script. We're talking about what to ditch specifically for a healthier heart.
Love it.
We're diving deep into this blog post just came out October 3rd by Amjad Ishar. It's called The 30 Worst Foods for Your Heart.
Oh, I saw that one.
So instead of just labeling everything good or bad, we're going to pull out the worst offenders. And more importantly, why they're so tough on your ticker.
The why is key. People got to understand that part.
Right. Knowledge is power. Okay, so the blog post starts off with some familiar foes. Stuff we kind of know isn't great, but can't resist, you know?
The usual suspects.
Exactly. Processed and cured meats. Bacon, sausages, deli meats.
Oh, man, those are tempting.
I know, but it gets serious. The blog post even cites a New England Journal of Medicine study, links these meats not just to heart disease, but stroke and type 2 diabetes too.
Triple threat.
No kidding. And what's wild, it's this double whammy effect.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so saturated fat that's raising your bad cholesterol, clogging things up.
Right?
And then there's the sodium, which we all know can send blood pressure skyrocketing.
Dynamic duo of doom. But here's the thing. People think, oh, I only have bacon on weekends. But it adds up, you know.
Totally. It's that saying, what is it? It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, got to make those healthy choices consistently, right?
Absolutely. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, so next up, something we're all guilty of, fried foods. French fries, fried chicken. Crispy goodness.
Yeah. The ultimate weakness.
I know, right? This blog post really calls out trans fats, public enemy number one for your heart.
And it's sneaky because it's not just that they're raising that LDL, the bad cholesterol.
Right.
They're actually lowering the good kind, the HDL, the stuff that protects your heart. It's like a double whammy of bad news.
And on top of that, the whole deep frying process, it creates all these nasty compounds. Think about it. It's been sitting in that boiling oil.
Makes you rethink that mozzarella stick, huh?
For real. And speaking of things we should probably avoid more often, sugary drinks.
Ugh, yeah. It's not just the empty calories, though, right?
Definitely not. This blog post cites a report from the American Heart Association. It links sugary drinks to high triglyceride levels.
Oh, right, triglycerides. For those who don't know, that's another type of fat in your blood that can be bad news for your heart.
And get this, the report found that even just one sugary drink a day can increase your risk of heart disease by 20%.
Seriously. That's huge. And then it just snowballs because sugary drinks lead to weight gain, and that can lead to obesity and insulin resistance, which are also risk factors.
It's like a chain reaction.
Right.
Sometimes it's crazy to think how something as simple as choosing water over soda can make such a big difference in the long run.
Small changes, big impact.
Okay, now for everyone's favorite, candy and pastries, the blog post calls them a ticking time bomb for heart health.
I mean, we all have our weaknesses.
Totally. But what really got me was how it explained the long-term damage. So you have that sweet treat, you get that sugar rush, your body's like, whoa, and releases insulin to bring it down.
Right, trying to play catch up.
Exactly. But over time, your cells can become resistant to that insulin, and that's when you get into a whole cascade of health problems, including higher risk of heart disease.
It's a vicious cycle. And speaking of hidden dangers.
Oh, this is where it gets good. What are some of the sneaky culprits we might not even be thinking about?
Well, get ready for this. Canned goods.
What? You mean like soups, canned veggies? Those are supposed to be healthy, aren't they?
You'd think so, right? But they can be loaded with sodium. The blog post really goes into how it sneaks up on you and contributes to high blood pressure.
Interesting. It's not like I'm adding salt to my beans or anything.
Exactly. But all that hidden sodium adds up. And most people have no clue how much they're getting just from canned stuff. It's kind of technical, but basically too much sodium. Your body holds on to water, and that extra fluid means your heart has to work harder to pump the blood around. Over time, not good for your ticker.
Huh. I never thought about it that way. Guess I need to start checking those labels more carefully.
Definitely a good idea. And while we're on the subject of hidden culprits, condiments.
Ketchup, mustard, soy sauce. Oh, and salad dressings. Those can be dangerous for sure.
Tell me about it. Those little dollops and packets seem so innocent, but they can really add up when it comes to sugar and sodium. And we often forget about them because they're not the main part of the meal.
Sneaky little devils.
I know, right? The good news is the blog post isn't saying we need to give them up completely. Just be aware. Use them in moderation. Look for low sodium options, or even better,
Make your own. I've been wanting to experiment with homemade salad dressings. Vinaigrettes are so fresh and flavorful.
Exactly. And then you're in control of what goes in.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for one more stealthy offender?
Hit me.
Packaged snack foods.
Oh, no, you're coming after my chips and crackers now, aren't you?
Had to do it. Those tempting little snacks are often loaded with refined grains, which are basically blood sugar spikers and crashers, according to the blog post.
The dreaded blood sugar roller coaster, the worst. Makes you feel sluggish and drained.
Exactly. And it's not just about the immediate effect. All that spiking and crashing messes with your metabolism over time and can lead to insulin resistance, which we know is a big risk factor for heart disease.
Wow, it's like a domino effect. Makes you think twice before grabbing that bag of chips, doesn't it? Okay, so let's talk about something a little more controversial, dairy. To cheese or not to cheese? That is the question.
The dairy dilemma. The blog post talks about some research from the Journal of the American Heart Association. Apparently, high intake of full-fat dairy is linked to a higher risk of heart problems.
So does that mean we have to kiss our cheese boards and lattes goodbye?
Not necessarily. The key takeaway, like with many things, is moderation and making smart choices. It's not about cutting out dairy completely. It's about being aware of the fat content and making adjustments where you can. Choose low-fat options or explore some of those plant-based alternatives.
Ooh, good point. Oat milk lattes are my jam these days. Speaking of things that are potentially bad for your heart, well, let's be real, fast food. The blog post calls fast food burgers one of the worst offenders.
It's true, and for good reason.
I mean, you've got the saturated fat, trans fats, sodium, and then they throw in the refined carbs for good measure. It's like they're trying to check off all the boxes.
It's definitely challenging to make healthy choices when you're on the go, but as we've been saying, knowledge is power, right? Knowing what we're up against helps us make better choices, even when that fast food menu is calling our name.
Preach. You know what I love about this blog post? It doesn't just stop at the food itself. It talks about building healthy habits overall.
Right. It's not just about what we eat, but how we live, too.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, nobody's perfect, right? It's about making those small changes, building those habits.
Exactly. It's been a really interesting deep dive, wouldn't you say? We've learned so much, not just what to avoid, but the reasons behind it all.
I know, right? It's one thing to be told, don't eat this, but when you understand the why, it just hits different.
It empowers you to make those lasting changes. And I like that the blog post emphasizes focusing on what we can add to our diets, not just what to take away.
Such a good point. Crowd out the bad stuff with good stuff, basically.
Right. More fruits, veggies, whole grains. And it's not about deprivation either. There are so many delicious, healthy recipes out there.
So true. It's about finding that joy in cooking, trying new things.
Exactly. And don't forget, it's not just about the food on our plate. It's that bigger picture of healthy living. Getting enough sleep, managing stress, staying active. It's all connected.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, any final thoughts for our listeners? What's one small but impactful change they could make today based on what we've talked about?
Let me think. The blog post really highlighted the benefits of cooking at home more.
Yeah, makes sense. Control over the ingredients, portion sizes, all that.
Exactly. Maybe this inspires someone listening to try a new heart-healthy recipe this week. Or even just swap out that sugary cereal for some oatmeal with fruit.
Love it. Small changes, big impact. Well, thanks for diving deep with me today. This was great.
Anytime. Always a pleasure talking about this stuff with you.